Welcome, everyone. I'm Mariquita Solis, the live stream host of all-creatures.org. All-creatures.org, founded in 1998, and is a leading resource for faith-based animal rights veganism. Led by our executive director, Tams Nicholson, we provide free resources for people seeking to live compassionately towards all creatures. Our extensive library includes vegan sermons and commentaries, animal rights strategies, action alerts, events, and works by various vegan authors. We also support websites for animal rights organizations. Our mission is to unite compassionate individuals worldwide who honor the dignity of all creatures. Today, we are very honored to welcome Tom Radzienda, right?
That's got
Radzienda,
it. You have it right.
author and teacher who has been teaching Reiki, meditation, and veganism since the early 2000s. He is an organic farmer who works in his orchard to balance his time. And he spends time with nature as it is in alignment with veganism, meditation, and the beautiful resonance of the earth. So I'm very excited to talk with you, Tom, because I am very in tune with the earth myself and meditation and the benefits of this spiritual way of life and grounding. And it's not everyone is aware of how important our vibration is and how we can
Mhm.
change the way that the energy we put out into the world so it has an effect on our planet. So thank you for joining us, Tom.
My pleasure, Mariquita. Pleasure chatting with you.
Well, let me start with what I usually ask everyone. How did how did veganism come into your life? Did you grow up around any vegetarians or vegan, or when did you even learn about veganism?
Of course, I'd heard about it back in the 80s and 90s. I had a couple of friends who were vegetarian, but it was never a topic. It was just like they ate bean burritos and I ate animal products back in the 80s, back in the 90s. It was a spontaneous understanding for me, Marakita. I was working at a university in Bangkok. This was 2001. And just ordinary, walking home from work one day, but I was actually fuming inside because the war was raging. The military was starting to bomb Afghanistan, and I was very, very frustrated that there was so much violence in our world, especially coming from the government where I was born, the United States, and bombing Afghanistan. I thought they're totally innocent people. They have nothing to do with what's going on in the World Trade Center. And just walking down the street, it clicked for me that I'm just as violent. Not that I'm a terrorist. It's just I was going to go have some pork or some chicken or some beef without even thinking about it. Absolutely no awareness that that is a being rather than an object, which is how we learn to perceive animals as objects. The animals that most people eat. Our pets, of course, are human. Our cats and dogs are all human, and every other animal is an object. Just the same way that a military can drop bombs on a foreign people and say, well, they're not really human because they don't agree with us or they're different or they're terrorists or so I made that connection and I instantly became vegetarian. It was many years later that I became completely vegan. That took some reflecting and some thinking and talking with different vegan friends, realizing that by continuing to have a coffee latte or scrambled eggs, yogurt, and cheese, very subtly, I was creating a lot of violence and I was lying to myself. So it was like a double whammy. It's like you're deceiving yourself, Tom, to say eggs are not violence. Well, they obviously are. You're just not looking at it. And that's the point with meditation is look at it very deeply, and you learn to perceive below the surface.
Yeah, there's so much below the surface that when we're walking around uh, in a programmed life without consciousness, without being conscious at all, just going through the motions, we are missing out on so much in the universe. And there's so much that we don't see, so much energy that is going out there. So, well, okay, let me get back to let me get back on track a little bit here. I just want to also ask about when you did go vegan, what did um what did your family and friends think about that?
Well, when I went vegetarian, I simply came home and I said to my wife, I just became vegetarian. She's like, well, oh, okay. My wife's a very good cook, and we just started cooking vegetarian. When I went vegan, of course, my family's in the United States, so it's just my wife and I living here. And I said, honey, I'm not going to eat eggs anymore. You can fry them all day long. I will not eat them. And for a while, it was like 50-50. She made it, I'll eat it. And then finally, I just said, honey, I'm not going to eat them anymore. You don't want to debate it. You don't want to argue about it. I'm not going to try to change her. I just simply won't eat it. And if are there eggs in it? She goes, yeah. It's like, okay, you can have it. No worry, but I'm not going to eat it.
Mm.
As far as friends go, at this stage, it's pretty easy whenever I go out with friends. If it's vegan friends, it's obvious we're going to choose a vegan or a vegetarian restaurant and then double check with the waiter. There's no egg, no milk, no ghee if it's an Indian restaurant. And with newer friends or newer students, if we decide we're to get lunch, I go, hey, I'm good with any vegan restaurant. Because what happens if I meet a new friend or a new student and we agree we're going to go out for lunch, and then they're going to order something with animal products. Well, inside I'd be flipping, and I don't want to push people around and tell them what they have to eat. So I just clandestinely say, yeah, I'm good with any vegan restaurant, and we have a lot here in Chiang Mai. So and they say, okay, Tom, you choose. I go, oh, good, good. So it's a little bit tricky, but that way we don't have to sit in a restaurant where it'd be so uncomfortable for me sitting with a new friend who was eating an animal product. I would find it really uncomfortable and not pleasant at all.
Yeah, that is a challenge for many people, definitely.
Mm.
So, what is um, not eating creatures? I mean, what does that mean for you in your life?
It's extremely important. Now, it's the background of my life now. For many years, being vegan is the foreground, meaning it's maybe my main identity. Oh, there goes Tom. He's the guy that wrote the book about veganism. He's the guy who distributes the booklets about veganism. And so some identity, some ego gets wrapped up into it. As years go by, it's still there. It's still ever present, but it's not my main identity anymore. It's more like I don't have an identity. I'm an old guy and I write books and I grow bananas. That's about it. So yeah, it gradually changes. I think the major change for me was back in 2015. I'd been vegan 2 or 3 years at that point, and I started becoming very active as a vegan advocate, handing out booklets on street corners, going to universities, talking to very actively, progressively going out, proactively talking with people. And that was a very important part of my life. I need to speak up about this. And as years go by, I still speak, I still teach, but I've become much more gentle in my approach to vegan advocacy because ironically, I recognize that if I'm pushing you're eating dead chickens, something really strong like that, that also energetically is a form of violence.
Mhm.
Now, that might be saying it a little bit too strongly. We would say it's certainly aggressive. I'm being aggressive with one of my deepest values. And that is not very lovable. That's not very likable when somebody's pushing their ideas on you. And I thought, I'm that way. I saw it. This is where the meditation comes in. You keep watching and watching. And I thought, generally, I'm quite gentle, quite soft, but then I get pushy. and it may become polarized, it may become politicized, and it becomes either an argument or a debate, none of which are conducive to helping other people.
Right. Well, definitely, you're right, because we can make a huge impact the wrong way if we're forcing. And I was just reading The Tao of Pooh, which I've read in college, and I got another
It's a
copy of it.
cute book.
It is very cute, but then I think about Pooh and no forcing, the no forcing, and gosh, that is something as I am sad to say that many, many vegans are forcing, 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 and it's going against, it doesn't work. Forcing doesn't work. No one wants to be forced.
Yeah, it's a good point. And even at this immediate moment, we don't want to blame our vegan friends because most likely all of us have been at that stage in some point. Because I don't want to say we're awake, but we're awake. We realize that eating, whether it's a chicken
Mm.
or an egg or a glass of milk, there is violence and injustice embedded in that food. And we feel so strongly with these ideals that we can't resist speaking up at every opportunity. And we lose sight of some other aspects like, hey, that's your mother you're speaking to, or it's your little sister, or that's your cousin or your neighbor or your student. And we forget all the other ideals that we hold, respecting other people, turning the other cheek, allowing a trespass, forgiveness, acceptance, tolerance. We lose sight of some of that when we're getting to be a very intense vegan. And it's interesting. I had this conversation with one of my best friends here a couple of months ago, and I asked her, I go, "Am I pushy with veganism?" She goes, "No, you're very gentle, very kind." I go, "I'm not always that with this friend I am with other people." It's like, "Oh, you're a jerk." I'm like, "Yeah, it's easy to become a jerk vegan, and it's not very pleasant being with any kind of a jerk or a jerk vegan, and it can go contrary to what we would like to accomplish." Is to inspire people. And my friend gave me this feedback. She goes, because you're a gentle, kind person, you're very generous, it's inspiring. And we start thinking, maybe he's very generous and kind because he's been vegan so long, he's been practicing it. So we by walking the walk, may be much more inspiring than talking the talk.
I think,
Ah, good. So I can just shut up. And be kind. And I go out and cut my grass and collect my papayas and do my stuff. And I don't really have to try so hard to push the vegan message. Can still be helpful though, because people say, well, what about protein? Blah, 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 blah. We can all talk for an hour about protein. What about B12, vitamin D? We know all the facts. We've all done our research. We've all checked it for our own health. So we are still a very good resource. So, well, what about cheese? I love cheese. What do I do? If we're being a vegan for a few years, we have a very good response and a helpful and an inspiring response. So it's letting the blame fade away, letting the judgment become more and more gentle, and just allowing the energy or the joy of the vegan life to radiate from us, really, is to be vegan instead of preach vegan. That may be the difference.
yeah, that is very true. And I have to catch myself all the time. I mean, I'm just because it's easy to, oh, it's very easy for me when people are complaining about their health. It's very easy for me to say, well, why are you eating this way? Of course. And I'm not here to do that. It's about offering kindness and but doing it in a gentle manner where some people just might not realize that we need to be eating fruits and vegetables and and so it's a very tricky slope, but it can be done with gentleness. And also what you're saying is when you're the example, you are the word vegan, right? And what does that mean? that's the whole essence of who you are. I mean, we all are representations of the word vegan if we're vegan. So what is
Mhm.
that exactly, right? And it's not just it's multiple layers. So how do we make these multiple layers all be resonating with kindness and compassion?
A lot of it happens in our relationships, our general acceptance of other people. Yeah, if we tie in the meditation as well, is for example, when I am teaching my students to meditate, I'll recommend that they meditate first thing in the morning. And then I'll say, go ahead and experiment. Have breakfast and then meditate, or meditate and then have breakfast and see what the differences are. Or I'll recommend having the evening meal plant-based rather than having animal products, and
Mm,
ask the students to meditate after that meal and see if there's a difference. Instead of my just claiming that it's going to work better, to have somebody say, okay, I just had whatever, maybe somebody had a hamburger and French fries for dinner, and then she sits down to meditate. How is the process? Somebody else sat down with a big avocado salad and some baked potatoes or whatever they might have, and how is the meditation process. So actually guiding people to experience the difference. So yeah, veganism actually becomes part of, I do organic farming out here, and up until last year, I was still using cow manure.
mm.
And it's not like a crime that I buy cow manure from my neighbor, but I thought, I don't want to support that. And I'm not going to blame myself for being violent. I'm simply going to learn about, I think it's called, what is it called? Veganics? Veganic farming. So
Mhm.
I collect all the weeds and all, fruits and vegetables from the kitchen. I rake the leaves. I tear up cardboard. Whatever we have that is organic goes into a great big pile. And then I add EM and different types of thing to that. I add some dirt, and I'm now creating organic soil without any animal inputs. So,
Wonderful.
so the awareness comes in there. So everything we do, we are aware of the preciousness of life. The, just 10 minutes ago, before we started talking, there was a little orange, not a butterfly, like an orange moth stuck inside the house. So I spent like 3 minutes trying to, he's so delicate. How do you, I finally, like, sorry, you have to hit him in the butt to get him to go out. Because if he stays in the house, he will dehydrate and die.
Mm.
So the only thing I need to help this little creature get out. And my wife and I, we spend so much time. We have so many creatures in our house because we're out in the country, and it's we don't have air conditioning. It's all open windows and doors. So we get snakes and mice and lizards that are more than a foot long. You get very adept at catching these little guys.
Well, wow, that sounds fun. I'm going to come visit you. You all.
Oh, yeah, it's fun. It's fun out here.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's very interesting. So, what's your most memorable experience of your vegan lifestyle so far? Do you have something that really sticks out?
Mm. I think the whole journey. I don't think a particular moment hasn't been stuck out. Last, this is what, December 25th. In November 2024, I introduced my new book, which is Vegan Health and Spirituality. I think maybe we talked about it last time we were on the phone. And we had a book launch at a vegan resort in downtown Chiang Mai. And it was just surreal to be at a vegan resort with a bunch of friends, some vegan, some not. And we did quotes from the book, and it was bilingual because the book is in English, and we've also translated it into Thai. So
Mm.
we had a very beautiful book launch here in November of 2024. And then I was chatting with some of my friends in Bangkok, and she says, "Well, why don't you do a book launch here?" Like, that makes sense. Bangkok is 100 times larger than Chiang Mai, and I have 100 times more friends there. So this friend organized a book launch at a like a community mall, which is vegan. It's just a little place, like a dozen shops, but it's all vegan oriented. And we did another book launch in January of 25. And it was just great standing up there doing all this stuff in two languages, switching back and forth. And sometimes I speak in English, sometimes in Thai. My friend would speak in Thai, then sometimes in English. And just the vibe of having 40 or 50 people together talking about this new book. And why I guess it's even more exciting for me in Thailand, because when I look at the English market, there are quite a few books on veganism available in English, hundreds of them. Not very many on vegan health and spirituality. It's mostly a lot of cookbooks, some books of philosophy, but not so much focused on spirituality. And in the Thai market, this is actually the first book that uses the word vegan in the title. To my knowledge, I had a friend who's a librarian research that for me. And she goes, no, I couldn't find any books that use the word vegan in the Thai language.
Ah,
Like, wow, it's a first. Like, that's exciting. Here's this, this foreigner. I've spent, next week, I'll be here 33 years. And Thai people are quite happy that I learned to speak Thai so well. And to have a couple of books under my belt now in the Thai language. Although I cannot translate myself, the translation skill is beyond my ability. Although I can, read and write okay, I can speak and listen fluently, but translating, nope. I have a Thai person do that who is a specialist. So
nice.
that's probably the most exciting thing is to have these books on the shelves in either on Amazon or the bookstores here in Thailand, and to walk into a bookstore and look at my book in Thai language. I'm like, well, I've come a long way since I was just a kid in Chicago, suburban Chicago, just ordinary blue collar family in Chicago, and now I'm an author in Thailand. This is boy, you cannot predict those kind of things when you're trying to choose your major at college and what should I major in? Because 33 years down the road, you have no idea what the world is going to be looking like. Just as you and I right now, if we look forward to the year 2058, what's the world going to be looking like? No idea. What will our careers be? What are our governments going to be like? We have no idea.
I know. Well, what was your major in college?
Well, I did my undergraduate was majoring in history, minoring in English, and then I did my master's University of Sussex in Southern England. That was international relations.
Hmm, nice.
So
Okay.
so that yeah, very strong interest in politics. Where now I've withdrawn from following. I avoid politics and economics and international relations because it's a lot of BS. There's lots and lots of propaganda. What one side of the aisle I don't believe, the other side I don't trust. It's like, you know what? Just don't watch the news. Don't get into the topics. People know I'm a pretty liberal person, so they can predict, what I'm going to say or think. I don't have to say it. I don't have to think it.
All
Actually,
right.
veganism is quite a political thing. Tying it into my studies of history and politics, veganism, like most things, also becomes very politicized.
Yeah, it does.
So,
Definitely does.
yeah, we have to be careful with those things because that's usually not very helpful.
All right.
I
Well,
think
let
if
me
we,
ask you, since you're talking about helpful, how would you help someone? What would you recommend to someone that's really learned about veganism and is just distraught? There's so many new vegans that don't know how to deal with the emotional element, I mean, of handling it. And how do you sleep at night when you're so depressed that the world isn't listening to you?
yeah, that is so difficult. And I think that's one reason that we become over ambitious trying to change the whole world.
Mhm.
And then that makes us crazy and we start defeating the purpose. It's contrary to what we're trying to do because it's not just making it a vegan world, it's making it a kinder, more compassionate, more understanding world. So what we can do, I mean, in my book, I guide people through not an immediate transition to veganism, but a gradual one meal. The evening meal goes plant-based, and then the breakfast goes plant-based, and taking it like 1 month at a time so that the body can go through a gradual transition to gradually be eating more and more fiber, more and more plants. Concurrently, I'm asking people to start meditating, to meditate ideally every morning and every evening. But earlier in the book, and when I meet my new students, I'll say at least once a day, sitting down and observing how your mind is working, which most people don't do. Most of us just continue thinking, thinking, thinking throughout our lives without ever stopping. It actually becomes very powerful. Although we're doing an interview, and I'm allowing such long silence, and it was only like 10 seconds. The meditation, of course, you would do that kind of a pause, 2, 3, 4 minutes, and there may be no thoughts coming up, or there may be 100 thoughts coming up. So the meditation is so helpful because it's not only let's choose my brother eats hamburgers as our example, and he's evil, and he's bad, and he's stupid, and he's not as awake as me. We start adding all of this psychological drama to the fact that my brother eats a hamburger. And if we could just say understand him rather than adding how bad, how evil, he's going to get a heart attack, he's going to die, he's killing cows, he doesn't care, he doesn't. That's what our minds are doing. Although I may be speaking one sentence, I'm thinking 10 other sentences. Meditation helps us to penetrate to that and to see it, and it will slow down with practice. The pace of the thoughts, the intensity of the thoughts gradually diminishes. Then it becomes manageable. We're able to see a single thought and then let's say a single emotion. Let's say I feel angry at my brother, or I feel like my best friend has betrayed me because now she is eating fish again. I feel betrayed. I really do. And I think a lot of us will say the same thing. We have friends who are vegetarian. It happened a couple of weeks ago. I saw my old student. Oh, you knew, didn't you? And very calmly I said, well, I don't agree, but you have to make your own decision. Now, she knows what I think. We've been friends for 25 years. I've been her teacher back at university. We've kept in touch. So I don't have to lecture her on this anymore. And it wouldn't be appropriate sitting with old friends to start complaining about it. She doesn't understand. I realize she doesn't understand how important it is that we stop hurting animals in every way that we can conceive. So I'm not going to blame or be angry at my friend because she doesn't understand. Good girl. I mean, she's professional, she's high level in her corporation and takes great care of her family and friends, but she doesn't understand. She pulled out the convenience card, meaning, well, we go hiking and camping, it's not convenient. I've heard that 433 times. It's an excuse. And under some circumstances, I will call people on it. It's like, that's an excuse. Okay, own it. And other times we keep quiet because I didn't want my friend to lose face in front of her boyfriend and some of our other old students. Let it pass. That the social harmony made more sense here. She has my book. She's read my book. She's seen my video. She knows what I'm teaching. She knows about my commitment and to veganism and to the lives of all beings. So I don't have to keep pounding the idea. So when your initial question was how people could deal with the frustration of I'm a vegan in an animal eating world. the very, very sad, painful truth is we are going to be living in an animal eating world for a long time. I'm not going to put on my rose-colored glasses and say, yeah, it'll be veganic by 2030. I don't think so. Although that is what we're striving for, that is the direction in which we are going, but not with this anxiety and urgency, with a calmness, a calm awareness that we will continue supporting vegan vendors, vegan producers. We will continue speaking up when appropriate, and more deeply through the meditation. And this is why I find my book is making an important contribution, is it brings veganism to people who are on a spiritual path, and it brings spirituality to people on a vegan path. And I feel that we really need both of those supplementing, complementing each other. That's interesting how my hands just came. Did not plan to see it that way. They come together like this. That as the young, let's say our vegan advocate is a 30-year-old young woman, and she's gone vegan 1 or 2 years now, and now she's getting really intense out cube of truth, going to universities, talking to people. But she's freaking out because her dad is still eating hot dogs, and her mother is, still frying chicken, and grandma still insists on scrambled eggs. We need to understand that all of us, am I accurate in that? Basically, all of us have grown up where the consumption of animal products, ergo the violence against animals, is embedded in our cultures from the age of approximately 2 or 3. It's totally normalized. And when we awaken from that, it's a shock, it's a big bang. The meditation helps to calm down the anxiety, the frustration, the vegan advocate burnout. All of that can be addressed with a combination, actually exercise, which sounds off topic, but if you think about it, it's very much a part of our spiritual well-being because the exercise burns out the excess stress. Then we sit down with our meditation practice and we're able to calm the mind to some degree and to see the mechanisms of the mind, how it goes from, my mother fries chickens, and then the thoughts that my mother doesn't understand, she won't listen to me, nobody listens to me, nobody loves me, nobody cares. All those levels of emotion. And I'm not being hyperbolic. This is what happens in the human mind. I see it in this mind, and I see it in everybody I know. We add so many flavors to reality. And by calming that down through a combination of exercise, meditation, really clean nutrition, a lot of time outdoors, and also lowering our consumption of social media, which just further aggravates our frustration. Calm down through the meditation and be thinking, how can I best help the other person? For example, if I'm simply in a taxi going somewhere and the subject comes up, I may mention that, yeah, I really prefer plant-based food. I just feel better. The whole conversation. We don't have to talk about slaughterhouses in Colorado or something to try to prove our points. I feel better on plant-based. I get plenty of great protein and lots of vitamins. Yeah, I'm advocating it, but I'm doing it in a cheerful banter with the taxi driver.
Right. No, I get it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
get it. And yeah. So I want to hear about meditation. So
Right.
now your book is, oh, where can we buy the book?
The book Vegan Health and Spirituality. It's available on Amazon.
Okay.
That's the main channel in the United States.
Okay.
And then from there, I think they send it out to other places, but mostly it's on Amazon. You can read about it there through the book description and all the
Okay.
reviews. And so far so good. Getting really good reviews and selling a book is very challenging. but it's the right book. I had to write this book. There was no non-writing it. It was just like, and my
Yeah.
friend, my best friend, he always teases me, you keep saying you won't write another book. I thought the book actually writes me. And
Mm.
and your question about meditation is I weave the meditation throughout the veganism. So it's a vegan spirituality book. It's not just telling you what to eat. It gives you a lot of information on what to eat and the reasons for eating those things and what things to not eat, but also many meditation practices to develop our minds.
Right. Okay. So what about, okay, so when we're talking about meditation in the mind, what kind of part does the heart play into that?
I think it would be a matter of maybe definition here. In Thai culture, you could say the mind actually is the heart. So it may be a somewhat artificial distinction. If we say the mind is the intellectual, rational part, and the heart is the spiritual relationship part, okay, we have a distinction. What we can do is as we slow down the cerebral activity, meaning the intensity of thought. Let's say a thought comes every 6 seconds, thought, memory, thought. As that slows down, our entire center of being gradually comes down to our center. And we can call that our heart. In Reiki terms, we would call it grounding. But to be well centered in the heart is also grounding. That anything out of the head is going to be healthy for us because our minds are basically fabricating reality. We have limited vision, limited hearing, limited senses, and we have limited concepts because we grew up in this culture, in this era, under these historical times. All of these limits to us. We assume that that is real. For example, we assume that this is an English speaking world, that we assume that people see the world or they should see the world like us. We assume that the humans are the arbiters of the planet. No, no, and no. Those are just small parts of the big picture. And that's where the heart is at. Is the heart, let's say it is infinite, it is beyond definition. I think in my personal terms, in my personal practice, that's where the silence is. That's where this is the noise.
Mm.
Tom's blah, 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 blah. Teacher Tom, blah, 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 blah. Author Tom, blah, blah, blah. Ego, blah, blah, blah. The silence. That's where the love, the kindness, the warmth, sharing, generosity, gratitude, forgiveness, understanding other people on their terms. Very powerful that as we understand our inner silence, we learn to understand other people. We still disagree that your uncle is, eating pork or your cousin loves making going fishing, but we do understand them because they grew up in a culture where that was absolutely normal, like wearing blue jeans. It's so normal that you put on blue jeans, you don't think about it. What are you going to wear? Whatever, blue jeans. It's
Right.
that normal. And we need to understand and accept that that's where we're coming from. The ideal of veganism, it might be, I would love to have a vegan world where I can go to downtown Atlanta, Chicago, New York, LA, London, Sydney, Bangkok, and every restaurant is pure vegan. And I could just walk in and order anything on the menu and never have to worry about committing violence or poisoning my body. But at the moment, no. We have to search on Happy Cow for 10 minutes to find, here's a vegan place.
Right.
And then we get there and we still ask 10 questions. Did you use, do your, the yellow noodles that you get in Asian food? Is there egg in that? And the Indian restaurant, is there a ghee? Or is that paneer made from? Someday we won't have to ask 1,000 questions. But today, yeah, we still ask those questions and we're still dealing with all of these issues all around us. And I imagine for the foreseeable half century, it's probably going to be like that. We have to be very patient, very understanding of people.
Yeah, and that's what meditation helps. I mean, with the quiet and understanding and getting back to know yourself. So, what does meditation do to the whole energy of the planet, I would say? Is there um is it affecting? I mean, how does that affect, well, if I meditate, how does that affect someone else that's on the other side of the world, which would be you, Tom? Right
Well, it's
today?
very,
Yeah, go ahead.
yes, it's there are numerous books out there that have done global studies of the effect of meditation centers. For example, in a community that has a meditation center, they have been able to document a decrease in violent crime, domestic abuse, and various other social factors. That there is something about the proximity of the meditation center and the number of people who meditate there regularly relative to crime statistics before and after that center was created and compared to similar populations who do not have a meditation center. So that would be like a given city. On the global scale, I don't have personal experience of that. I cannot actually feel it or see it. I've read books about it, and they use something called random number generators, I think what it's
Yeah,
called. And when there is a global event, something 911 is the one very often used, or the death of Princess Diana were two very important events in the last couple of decades. And you get a global coherence. It's not exactly about meditation, but it's when the whole global mind is all focused on very similar things that these random number generators come to a greater coherence, much greater than what would be considered by chance. But usually with topics like that, I normally don't touch them, Marakita, because they are so abstract and they could be so easily refuted. I could have a friend here who say, "Oh, Tom, that's BS. You can't prove that." You're probably right. I can't prove it. So I'm not going to tell them. But what I can say is that when I'm around certain people, I'm more calm. And when I'm around a certain friend, I start feeling anxious. And when I get around other people who meditate, I can feel their groundedness.
mm,
And when other people call, I can't see it. I'm using my imagination. Their thoughts are all over the place. So I start breathing. When a relative called me recently, a younger relative had some issues going on, and her excitement was just, I just start breathing, waiting for her to calm down, to let her release all of her youthful energy she had to express. And then gradually, she must have felt, boy, Uncle Tom is sitting very still, and he's truly listening to me and doing everything he can to understand me, which is the definition of love coming back to the heart, listening, understanding people. And so meditation gives us the skill to get back into the silence, into the heart, and understanding other people. Now, if this helps the vibe of planet Earth, I don't know. Uh, I would say probably yes. It's not something I would debate because I know I cannot prove it. It would just
Mhm.
be a subjective opinion. So I come back to the personal level, and I have a lot of experience personally being around people who are long-term meditators or who never meditate. And the nature of our conversations, the dynamics are very, very different with people who meditate and those who peripatetically are on social media. And every 3 minutes, let me check that. And they have to, as an example, they have to fact check every topic in a conversation. So they go to Google or AI or something and they're double checking this and that. Like, just be present. It's so difficult in the last, 20 years or so to get people to simply be present at the dinner table or going to coffee for coffee with a few friends and to actually be with people together without the interference of social media and laptops and those are tools that we need, but they greatly distract us from the inner silence. And those devices bring us up here into the intellect. And if we touch on politics for a moment, we are more easily manipulated up here because we are more likely we are either more conservative or more liberal. And we're going to be pulled to that side. But when we come down into the heart, is metaphorically speaking, there is no left or right in the heart. There's compassion, there's caring, there's understanding. Those are not politicized. Those would be the attributes of, let me call it universal consciousness. In
Mm.
religious terms, those would be the attributes of a God who is beyond attributes: compassion, kindness, understanding. So this is where meditation brings us so deeply into a spiritual path or a religious path, uh, a emotional life with much less anxiety, much less stress, much less anger.
Yeah, because I feel like the fear is up here and it's just cranked, going, 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 right? And the fear
Yes,
will
well
just
put.
take a hold of you until you can calm that fear. And you'll be
Yes,
sucked into it and you'll be living a life that is not coherent. Because ideally, you are a pure being. But when we're so trapped in this fear, we get knocked off of it. And that's not who we are. And that's not living in coherence with our divine essence, which is purity. And that is veganism. So people
yeah,
are living out of coherence. And so when you're conscious, you are going back to that quiet state of the heart, which is purity, and you're aware of what you're doing. You think twice about it. And I mean, there's stages of awareness.
yes, yeah. Well put. And it's interesting as you bring those things up, and I studied politics, international relations at university. And so, I've been a very political person my whole life and very much interested in it. And I realized it also basically is doing violence to my mind. If I listen to politician A or criticism of politician A, and then I follow the politics somewhere else, they are doing so much violence. And not just to blame politicians, corporations are often doing the same thing. Educational institutions may be doing the same thing. The institutions of our society may also be doing violence. And so, not only meditation for the inner silence, but actually having the silence around me is, I don't watch YouTube. If I need specific information, I will watch a video. But otherwise, I don't want to open it because it is going to disturb my mental field. Because then for the rest of the day, I'll be thinking about what's happening. Thailand is at war with Cambodia at the moment. And Ukraine has all this stuff going on. And Venezuela, something's happening there. I would love to solve all of those. If I were a global diplomat, I would just fly there and everything would be cool. But one, I'm not. And two, nobody would listen to me because they all have a million other needs that keep them at war, whether it's economic or political or whatever their reasons are. Our world has that many problems that you could have a million YouTube channels presenting a video a day. It'd be a million videos a day, which are based on violence or rage or greed or intolerance because it sells. It's like the number one word of 2025 is called anger bait. Something like anger bait is something that makes us angry. We are more likely to click on it.
Oh,
And so the titles of our videos are very often to get us angry because we're going to click it to stir our anger because then my self-righteousness comes out and that feeds my ego. And now I'm sitting up straight and tall and I'm so right. Hate bait, something like that. It's a really good term. It's like, it's true. That's what attracts me to a video is I want to prove myself right. Sort of like us at the stage of veganism, we want to prove other people are wrong. And objectively, they may be wrong, but it's when the ego gets involved and we feel the urgency to persuade, to convince somebody that they are wrong for eating animal products. And that is ego. And the ego is up here, which is me, my ideas, my beliefs. And we're not down here. It's like, I need to understand the culture. I need to understand the history. I need to understand that the person who's eating the duck is also a victim. The person who is eating fried eggs is also a victim. So like, that doesn't forgive their behaviors, but it helps us understand that for all of us who have grown up in animal eating cultures, we are also victims because it was normalized for us as children. And we have to move on from that. We cannot blame our parents looking back to the 1960s and blame my mom and dad for giving me bacon and eggs when I was a little boy at school. Mom and dad didn't understand. They didn't have that opportunity to understand. Fast forward 50, 60 years, like we have the opportunity to understand. And as vegan advocates, we can help other people to understand. And by understanding them, we are raising the level of understanding in the world. Truly understanding people where they are coming from.
right. And that's what it boils down to is this consciousness of and getting out of the ego, where the ego is controlling us by fear, right? I mean, that's is
Yeah.
hurting the world is fear of this and fear of that, being afraid. And then when we are able to meditate and drop down into our heart, because the word heart comes from Latin, the cur, right? From Latin courage, Latin heart.
Mm.
So I'm not putting it together well. But
Mm. I know what you
yes,
mean. I think we understand you.
yes. So courage, yes. So we have to be in this heart space where we're not controlled by fear. We're not living by fear. And that is getting quiet and still and then tapping into that spiritual divine presence, whether you call it God or divinity, whatever you call it, that
Hmm.
this, essence of life, connecting with that so you're not driven by fear and making irrational choices that are hurting you and hurting others. I mean, the irrational choice of attacking your mom, for something that she thought was helping you, but like you said, serving the bacon and eggs. She thinks I'm giving this because my child needs protein, right?
Right.
So, but having compassion for others. But we can't have compassion for others when we're just driven by fear all the time.
Yeah. Fear, anger as well, um, self-righteousness. We all have a collection of emotions that drive us. And if we're looking at vegan advocacy there, each person will need to look inside of their own heart to see what's driving me. And we often think it's because being vegan is right and eating animals is wrong. Okay, I agree with that. But then when the emotions get added on to that, and then we are no longer very compassionate with the person we're talking to, we are no longer understanding them because we're so busy explaining our own point about how we can get protein from chickpeas and B12 you can get here and you can get vitamin D from there. You can get your omega 3s over there. We're so busy explaining all that, we're not understanding that other person. This is equally true in every other aspect of our society. If we're listening to a person who's on the other side of the political spectrum, or a person from a different culture, different religion, we really need to understand that person. But normally we try to explain what we think is right rather than understanding that person. The old adage, put on another person's shoes, is like to really understand that person, whether it's your husband or your wife, your parents or your children, to understand other people at the personal level is so important, distracting us from the silence of the heart, which is the dwelling place of kindness or gratitude or compassion. So it's funny. I'm not against modern technology. Obviously, we're talking using smartphones, using global Wi-Fi.
Right.
Obviously, I'm connected and I have an electric vehicle. Yes, but turn off the phone. I sit with my dog, or when my wife's in Bangkok at the moment, we sit outside and drink tea and like, naming all the birds. That like we have these little yellow birds as an example. There's April and May. That was the names we gave them. And that's the thing, you can't capture that with social media. It's so real. Maybe you hear the birds in the
I
background
hear
because
the
the sun
bird.
is up now. Yeah, and it's just like so spectacular. You can just sit there for so like that's so cute. They're so real.
I
They're
love
they're
that.
so they're so divine. And we don't have to be a vegan to appreciate that. In fact, understand that most of our friends who eat animal products also appreciate the little yellow bird that comes and eats the berries. They also love animals, even though that sounds like a contradiction. They just don't understand at the same level. So by understanding other people, it helps them to understand us. And this is why meditation is such an important part of our vegan lives.
Yes, well, I think definitely that I think we've learned a lot in this hour about getting quiet and allowing space, just sitting with the space to feel.
That's it. That's it. And there are many different meditation practices. When I mean, we don't have time to go into all of it, but there are like 7 or 8 steps that I use, keeping it really simple. Observation of the breath,
Mm.
observation of the mind, observation of the silence, observation of sensations in the body. They're actually very, very simple things. I don't teach anything that is overly esoteric, anything that could be so easily refuted or rebutted. I think, no, I'm not going to make any claims that this is universal energy or the voice of God, because people can throw that out the window too easily. So when I say, observe your breathing and then notice the stillness between the breaths, inhale, exhale, stillness of the breath. Oh, you're right. We breathe in, we exhale, and then the lungs are very still for several seconds. Maybe throughout our lives, we've never ever noticed the steps of a common breath because we're so busy in the world outside. We haven't really checked out the world inside. So, I'm not a Luddite from the 1920s denying technology. And I'm not an ostrich with my head buried in the sand. I do know what's going on. It's just, I know there's some conflict with Venezuela. I know about that. I know there's some, the House of Representatives has some stuff going on. I know there's environmental damage. I know about that. I know that this technology might be putting a lot of people out of work. I know about that. And the pollution thing and all kinds of stuff going on. I know. But I don't let it pull me. I don't let it push me. I don't let it tear me down. Always coming back to a very quiet center, a very quiet vegan heart. And even when it's noisy, at least I don't have all the other things coming on. It's like, okay, I'll deal with my own noise.
Right. Well, you've given me a
Oh
lot to
boy.
think about today. Today, I would like to make sure we know where can tell us again where people can find you and where they can get your book, Tom.
Here, I'll show you the book so you can
Okay?
see. It was in the background there. I don't know if you can see it. It's called Vegan Health and Spirituality. And the subtitle is A Synthesis of Ancient Wisdom, Modern Self Healing, and Universal Compassion to Nurture Your Happiness and Joy. And it's available on Amazon worldwide. So if you have listeners in the States and Canada, Amazon has websites around the world, Japan, Australia, wherever your listeners may be, you can find it. If you have any listeners who happen to be in Thailand, it's in all the bookstores here. And myself, I'm on YouTube, but I'm no longer active.
Hmm.
I do have a Thomas Radzienda is my YouTube channel. So the videos are out there. They're a helpful resource that people say, okay, I like what he said about this. I do want to go find the video. And I have a 20 to 30-minute video on each of those topics. And all the things we've talked today, I probably have a video out there on those things somewhere in the YouTube space.
Okay. Well, we'll take a look and we'll
Okay.
definitely check out your book. And this has been very now the word is not insightful. It's more, I mean, it really touched my heart. And it was a good reminder to stop and pause on this day. I know that this is a day of meditation. I got
Mhm.
so having every day a day of worldwide meditation is so important, right? May every day be that living in the consciousness. I have my Reverend Richard at my church is always saying, "Be conscious, 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 conscious." That's the answer to everything. So
It really is. He's got a very good way of saying it. I hope he's teaching people how to be conscious. Which is, I'm a teacher. Okay, so
yeah.
that's what I do. Where a reverend might just say, be the reminder of it. But if he can actually guide people, and this is something that I do when students come to me for Reiki, I don't just give hands-on Reiki. I sit
Uh-huh.
down with the student and we talk about their nutrition, find out what they're eating, and I can make some suggestions how to improve. And then we meditate together. And
Mm.
I saw a young man from Taiwan last week, and we meditated for like an hour, and he just said, amazing. And my point there was you don't need a Reiki healer to take care of you. You just need some technique to be conscious what's happening in your body and in your mind at this moment. And it's infinitely deep. I've been digging down into this consciousness a better part of 25 years now. And I'm still digging. It's like, oh my God, I want to be in China in a minute if I keep digging any deeper. And that is the fascinating thing about the existence that I'm living is the depth of consciousness. And it's beautiful, very beautiful. I find myself laughing. And I think if I were to write a new book, I came up with a funny title: Smile, Laugh. I forget the other one. I just start laughing. I'm not a crazy person. It's just the joy, and that's why the joy is in the title of the book. Is with these kind of practices, this spontaneous laughter is you breathe, you smile, and you laugh, and it's like that's your whole life. Yeah, basically. I breathe, I smile, and I laugh. And of course, love and kindness, all that comes along with it. But if I wanted a real catchy title, it would be, breathe, smile, laugh.
Well, I
So
like that. We'll be waiting for that next book. So that sounds good.
hold, don't hold your breath. I'm sick of writing books. So
Okay. All right. All right. We'll give you some time, Tom.
thank
Well,
you, Maragita.
yeah, thank you. And everyone, please go to www.all-creatures.org if you would like to make a donation. Check out our website, a one-time reoccurring donation or one-time donation or reoccurring donation. And make sure you subscribe and make sure you go to Amazon and check out Tom's book and and sit in the quiet and see what develops. So see what you feel. Yeah, so thank you so much, Tom, for this wonderful time together. I really appreciate it. I feel very peaceful and now more conscious.
Good, good. Thank you for your time, Maragita. For our time change was kind of different. 12 hours apart is not easy, but we made it work. I
Great.
appreciate your time and the effort that you're putting into the different organizations you're working with. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. And thanks
Okay.
everyone. Thanks everybody for watching. Thank you.
Okay. Have a good night then. We'll talk soon.